On the 17th of November, Wilbur Soot tweeted this moral alignment chart for the members of the Dream SMP. And as expected, it sparked a lot of discussion both on Twitter and other platforms where it was reposted. But I noticed that a large percentage of the comments were focused on Technoblade's placement on the chart as a lawful neutral character, with many people arguing that he is chaotic instead. And while both sides of the argument have valid points, I'm here to break down the alignments and to tell you that Technoblade is, in fact, a lawful character. And here's why. But first, I'm fairly new to this whole YouTube thing, so I'd appreciate it if you could just press that subscribe button, and if we ever make it to 69 subscribers, I will be doing a pet reveal. So if you love animals, I'd suggest subscribing, but if you don't, no hard feelings, enjoy the video. To begin, alignment comes from the fantasy role-playing game known as Dungeons & Dragons. If you aren't familiar with it, don't worry because I'm not really either, but to summarize, a character's alignment is based on two axes, good versus evil and law versus chaos. The combinations of the two create a 3x3 diagram with 9 different alignments, or character types. These alignments in Dungeons & Dragons are used to create characters and influence their behavior and choices. But outside of the game, the alignment system is often used to classify characters in films, books, and other popular media, including now the Dream SMP. But the question remains, is Technoblade a lawful or chaotic character? Also, it is important to remember that I am strictly analyzing Technoblade's character on the Dream SMP, and that this doesn't reflect his character in other settings, such as in tournaments or real life. I think it's pretty widely accepted that when it comes to the axis good versus evil, Techno is a neutral character. He mostly looks out for himself, but wouldn't be considered evil because he still remains loyal to a few like-minded friends, especially when it's a mutually beneficial relationship. But unlike a good character such as Tubbo or Tommy, Technoblade is willing, though reluctant, to abandon his friends if they come between him and his interests. But one thing to note is that neutral characters, specifically lawful ones, often fluctuate between good and evil when it comes to certain situations, which I think is true of Technoblade. And I think that this can sometimes create the illusion of chaos, when in reality this is just the nature of neutral characters. But this brings us to the second, or in this case, the controversial axis, law versus chaos. Now, according to the Dungeons & Dragons rulebook, law implies honor, trustworthiness, obedience to authority, and reliability, while chaos implies freedom, adaptability, and flexibility. At face value, it would appear that Technoblade, an advocate for anarchy, is more of a chaotic character, but we need to dive deeper into what those words exactly mean in order to get a better understanding. Lawful, in terms of alignment, doesn't necessarily refer to following society, government, and/or laws. In some cases it does, such as with Bad Boy Halo, but in other instances, lawful can mean following a personal code, and I'd argue that this is the case with Technoblade. In other words, chaos is just a result of his actions. He doesn't create chaos for the sake of creating chaos, as chaotic characters often do. And I think that this trait becomes even more clear when you read the descriptions for both the chaotic neutral and lawful neutral alignments. A chaotic neutral character is an individualist who follows their own heart and generally shirks rules and traditions. Although chaotic neutral characters promote the ideals of freedom, it is their own freedom that comes first. Good and evil come second to their need to be free. A lawful neutral character typically believes strongly in lawful concepts such as honor, order, rules, and traditions, but often follows a personal code in addition to, or even in preference to, one set down by a benevolent authority. While both descriptions do fit Technoblade to an extent, I believe the lawful neutral to be closer to his true character, because while Techno did aid in the destruction of L'Manberg in the finale, I think people forget that he remained loyal to Wilbur throughout those decisions. I also don't think that he necessarily betrayed Tommy and Tubbo so much as he was just doing what he believed was right. He clearly stated for weeks leading up to the Battle of L'Manberg how he was anti-government and how all leaders could be corrupted. So when Tubbo became the next president of L'Manberg, naturally Technoblade was going to prioritize his personal convictions over his friendships, as a lawful neutral character would. Another thing I wanted to point out is that chaotic characters tend to be reckless, unpredictable, and/or irresponsible. Two of the chaotic characters on the SMP, Dream himself and Tommy, would definitely fit that description, albeit for different reasons. But on the other hand, Technoblade would not. He is very calm and calculated in his decision-making, and usually doesn't act on impulse like the other two often will. I think it's also helpful to compare Technoblade to other lawful and chaotic neutral characters in films, to To me, he seems much more similar to characters like James Bond and Boba Fett than Harley Quinn or Captain Jack Sparrow. And out of all the websites I went to, I found the descriptions of lawful neutral characters to fit Technoblade much better than the chaotic neutral ones. I put the links of some of them in the description if you want to read them for yourself. And lastly, I wanted to clarify that a character isn't going to fit perfectly into any one single alignment, and that no two characters, even if they share the same morals and ethics, are going to behave the exact same way. Personally, alignments are extremely useful when writing or analyzing characters, but shouldn't be taken too seriously, especially when it comes to real people such as the members of the Dream SMP. It's important that we, as fans, separate the character from the content creator, but overall, I really enjoyed Season 1 of the Dream SMP. I thought Technoblade's character arc was one of the most intriguing, and I'm really excited to see where Season 2 will go with the storyline. Please leave a like and comment whether you agree with me that Technoblade is lawful, or are still convinced that he's chaotic. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.